Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Still winning. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, our nation's billionaires did not get rich and powerful because they love to make bad investments. They got rich and powerful because they've made good investments. And at least one high-profile Nikki Haley donor has decided she's a bad investment. We learned today that LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman, a Biden supporter and a Haley backer, announced that he's ending his support for her after her double-digit New Hampshire loss. Also, more bad news for Nikki. A Republican fundraiser told CNBC on Wednesday that 3 clients who each helped Haley raise up to $100,000 for the campaign are now opting out of assisting her. So this bad fundraising news followed Haley's pitiful Postlaw spinorama.
Today we got close to half of the vote. This race is far from over. There are dozens of states left to go. With Donald Trump, you have one bout of chaos after another. This court case, that controversy, this tweet. I've long called for mental competency tests for politicians over the age of 75. He should have no problem standing on a debate stage with me. The first party to retire its 80-year-old candidate is going to be the party that wins this election.
Now, this is simply very short-sighted on Haley's part. Now, she might not have liked our advice for the past week to drop out of the race, but it's been accurate. The Angle's advice on this has turned out to be 100% on spot. Now, if she keeps on this path, she's going to convince people that she's a Bush-Cheney Republican, and then her career will really be over. Now, everyone needs to understand this, how significant Trump's New Hampshire win was. To give you some historical perspective, in 1980, Reagan lost the Iowa caucuses. In 88, George H.W. Bush lost the Iowa caucuses. In 2000, George W. Bush lost the New Hampshire primary. In 2016, remember, Trump lost the Iowa caucuses. But this year, Trump won both Iowa and New Hampshire, even though the governors in both of those states opposed him, and even though his opposition outspent him in both states. It's a tremendous victory, and it shows the extent to which Republican voters trust him on the issues. The BBC's headline, "It's Trump's party now." And then Fox voter analysis showed that Haley's only got 28% of registered Republicans, 28%. 70% voted for Donald Trump. Now, that's because a good chunk of Haley's votes come from self-proclaimed moderates or from people who changed their party registration to vote for her a couple of months ago. Now, these voters did not show up because they're wild about Nikki. They didn't vote for her because they're wild about her. Oh, yay, Nikki. No, they showed up because they want to stop Trump.
I voted for Nikki Haley, and it was certainly a strategic vote. And while I wouldn't vote for her in a general election, particularly on our differences with climate change solution and women's right to bodily autonomy, I think a vote for Nikki Haley helps diminish Trump's influence.
Why did you vote for Nikki Haley?
It's a vote against Trump.
If it was Nikki Haley against Joe Biden in a general election, who are you voting for?
Joe Biden.
How? I mean, it's just sad at this point for her to run around the country carrying water for the people who despise the GOP base as her frenetic surrogates desperately try to convince you that her collapse is not inevitable.
2 states down, 48 to go. It's only become a one-on-one race literally in the past couple weeks. She's really ramped up the attacks on him. And let's face it, he's effectively the incumbent president, so that's a hard hill to climb for sure. But every time there's a hill in Nikki Haley's way, she climbs it. She knocks it down. She pushes everybody out of the race. She's got one more hill to climb, and that's to beat Trump in her home state.
Man, I think it's time to switch to decaf. Now, even Politico is reporting now what we've been saying for weeks. If Haley thinks her home state will deliver her first win, it's highly unlikely. She's cruising toward Jeb Bushville. Any momentum Haley can claim out of New Hampshire runs into daunting polls and an expensive month-long campaign to reverse them in a state where, if not for her connections, should likely have little chance of success. Now, other Republicans have challenged Trump and have gone on to remain very influential and extremely well-respected. There's a certain amount of space in which everyone in a party can disagree on issues. So people like Ted Cruz, who's going to join us in a few moments, Marco Rubio, Rand Paul, and Ron DeSantis, they all did that. But if the voters think that you're truly against them and on the side of Liz Cheney and the Never Trumpers, they will never forgive you. Oh, and it's not true, by the way, that Republicans who, have to step aside need to bow down to Trump. That's just a media creation. Forget about that. But the more that Haley takes big money from Trump haters, the more she repeats Democrat talking points about his mental fitness or his, it perceived to look down on Trump and his voters, the harder it's going to be for her to find her way back to the Republican Party, which I think she ultimately wants to go back to. Now, just listen to the loudest voices begging her to stay in the race.
For Nikki Haley, there's only one way through this. There's light way down there at the end of the tunnel. You keep going, and maybe you don't win outright, but you win a war of attrition.
If you're the donor class that wants Trump gone, you tell her, thug it out for a few months. I'm going to put some more money in your bank account.
Did she say thug it out? Yes, she did. Now, I actually have more respect for Joy Reid than the other guy who spoke before her in that little montage. Now, even Texas moderate John Cornyn has decided to give up the dream of someone other than Trump. Last night, he said that he's seen enough, and it's time to unite to beat Biden. Look, this isn't complicated. If you want to be the Republican nominee in 2028 or 2032 or 2036, you're going to have to be able to credibly stand and say, Donald Trump did a fantastic job as president. He tried to do the best he could for this country. He was unfairly persecuted by the DOJ. And for that, we celebrate him and his accomplishments. And guess what? The voters are actually going to have to think that you meant what you said. Now, one of Trump's go-to lines on the trail, watch.
I will never let them take away your freedom. Never let them take it away. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you, but I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will always be in their way.
Now, that resonates because it's how many voters feel, that their own government not only doesn't care about, them, but doesn't care that their policies are hurting the middle class. They actually think the government hates them. They hate your values, they hate your big mega churches, they hate your big gas-guzzling cars, your big families, and yeah, they don't even like your patriotism too much. But Trump's message will essentially be, remember, when you go to vote for me, you're really voting for yourselves. That'll work huge for him in South Carolina. And then it's 3 strikes and Nikki's out. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.